Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Firebelly Social Show, where I'm your host, Duncan Olney, and I interview founders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. And so this episode is brought to you by Firebelly Marketing, where we make brands more likable on social media. We've worked with some of the top brands in the world in terms of passion, in terms of success, and we'll continue to do so. If you want to learn more, go to firebellymarketing.com. But today, I am especially delighted to introduce Kaitlin Mogentale, who is the founder of the Pulp Pantry and a self-described food waste warrior. Welcome, Kaitlin.
Thank you so much for having me, Duncan.
And especially today, we're recording on the day before Thanksgiving. Kaitlin, thank you so much for giving freely of your time. So let's get right into it. We've both got a great coffee with us, and we're ready to chat and hang out and have some fun. Tell me about being a food waste warrior and what that means and why it's important to all of us today.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will start from the top, which is basically food waste is the number one solution to fight climate change today. And I think the Project Drawdown put that out there as kind of, this is the low-hanging fruit, people. Let's wake up, because we waste 40% of food in the United States. And most of the food that comes, obviously food waste coming from our homes, goes straight to landfills. It produces methane gas, which is a potent greenhouse gas. So for me, being a food waste warrior is something that I think, with us wasting so much of our food at home, it's up to the individual, honestly, to kind of take ownership of that footprint and to say, you know what, I'm going to get crafty. I'm going to find ways that I can avoid sending any of my food to landfills. So, I definitely say I'm a food waste warrior. I hope more people will join me in that fight. But there are so many creative ways that I've learned as kind of I've taken more accountability for my food scraps. So many ways I've learned to cook more creatively, to use maybe the odds and the ends and the stems that I wouldn't have before. And it's honestly led to just a lot more fun in the kitchen, a lot more creativity, and a lot more talking points, let's say, for your dinner guests.
That's great. Talking points, fun, and creativity. That just sounds like a great journey in itself. And you're the founder of the Pulp Pantry. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I started Pulp Pantry. I was a senior in college, actually, when I was working in an urban garden in South Los Angeles, and it was an urban garden attached to an elementary school. It was a Title I elementary school, which means that the majority of kids are on the free breakfast and free lunch program. And honestly, that's just because living below the poverty line, they looked to the school system to provide those meals. And I was shocked because at school, kids were eating pizza sauce and French fries, counting as their daily vegetable. So for me, that was kind of this realization of, oh my goodness, this is what we're feeding our kids, when they're on these programs that rely on the schools to provide them food. And we're still not providing adequate nutrition. And that's affecting kids, performance in the classroom. It's obviously going to affect their relationship with food as they grow older. And we would see kids come into the garden and, it was a mixed program of essentially cooking, growing your own produce, and then using that to apply to some of the lesson plans that they were taking at school. And I was laughing because kids would come in the garden. Of course, they're all grossed out by vegetables. They don't want anything to do with vegetables. But through their relationship of growing their own food and learning how to cook the food that they grew, they became obsessed with certain vegetable items, and really taking ownership of that, showing their family, hey, I grew this carrot, I grew this tomato. But the other thing that was really shocking to me was that truly, most of the kids had come into the garden not seeing a fresh carrot or fresh tomato in their life. Anyways, I digress. But I was same semester at a friend's house and saw our juicy carrot and realized, we drive miles off campus. We were really privileged at the University of Southern California to have cars, and, West Adams in this area of South Central LA was a food desert, which means that there really aren't a lot of grocery stores within walking distance that are providing healthy, fresh, affordable, nutritious food. So we would drive off campus to go get our produce. And, in this case, my friend, same thing, went off campus, was able to buy some organic fruits and veggies, was juicing them. And most of that produce item was turning out to be waste after juicing. It was all the fiber left behind after juicing those fruits and vegetables. And that honestly was what got my start on connecting these two issues of oh my gosh, there are so many resources that are super nutritious, that so many communities in the country could benefit from. How can we really make use of some of these scraps, the things that we are overlooked, but they're highly nutritious, and turn those into really value added products that we can feed more families better food. So that was really the start for me, and just continued ever since. It's been an obsession.
So, and our connection is, or one of our connections, our primary connection in terms of us getting together is Christina Appleton. And we are, Christina Appleton is an amazing woman. She is our client at one of the brands she runs marketing for, Karma Nuts. And of course, I have been a customer of her Better Box, and also the Appleton Markets, or the Appleton's Power Veggie Bites. So a really interesting woman. And you and Christina are both part of Naturally LA. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then the other connection we have is Daniel Kurzrock, who is a very influential guy in the upcycling space. And if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the founders of the Upcycling Association and the founder of Regrained.
Mm-hmm.
So two beautiful connections there. And we're giving you guys a shout out from Kaitlin and I today on the Firebelly Social Show. And what's interesting? What's that?
I said, because we love you both.
We love you both. What's really interesting, I learned from both of them. And last week I was talking to Dustin Finkel, who's the founder of Kapop. And it's all heritage brand, heritage grain, and they make popcorn and many other snacks and the Awaken Foods. And it seems to be the theme is that with you all, the founders, the crew of people that are starting these amazing, mission-driven businesses, it's all about seeing something like you talked about juicing and seeing the byproducts, and you're seeing something that isn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting because I do feel like all of us have such a unique footprint, essentially, of like what we are interested in, the kind of, I guess, the crossover between what we're interested in, what we do really well, and kind of the skill sets that we fine tune through our life. And so when you do get hit over the head with these opportunities, it's kind of that perfect mix of, oh my gosh, it's a blend of everything that I love, everything that I care about, everything I want to dedicate my time to. And I think taking the leap to start a company, you really gotta know that this is something you're going to be able to commit a significant portion of your time to, right? So I mean, I feel really lucky because I got hit over the head with this idea, as I know. Dan's story is very similar. Christina's story very similar, where you just kind of get hit over the head with the idea, and you're like, I have to go through with this because this is such an opportunity area that other people aren't seeing, and I want to carry this forward. So I read a really interesting quote last night that was like, "Don't start a company unless other people are asking you to," which was kind of an interesting perspective. And I think, in the case of just building Pulp Pantry, I remember distinctly like having this idea, presenting it in a project, honestly, creating a nonprofit, and having professors afterwards telling me, you have to do something with this. It's just such a like beautiful, simple idea, deserves to exist in the world. We gotta, we're gonna put the resources around you to make this happen, especially as graduation was nearing. So it's really cool because I think, mission-driven brands, a lot of the times your reason for being and the reason for the why behind it is, there are people asking you, please bring this into the world because this is something that, fills a real need. So I think that's been a really valuable part of just the journey and the starting point, honestly.
I love this point, because what I'm taking away from it is that it is an inside out decision as opposed to an outside in decision. It's like, you have to realize it. Yeah. You have to feel it. And ultimately you're going to be going on that journey mostly alone, right? I mean, there's people around you, but I mean, let's face it, founder life is not an easy life. And it is, I think Dustin Finkel said that he called it the 2x4 effect. He says that there is not a day when you most likely get hit by a 2x4, you're brought down to your knees. And what separates, the people that are able to thrive and survive and thrive is the ability to get back up and get going. I mean, it's as a founder myself, I know like every day will bring a new challenge.
Yeah, you just don't even know when you turn a corner. It's like the things that you think are going to bring you the next chapter of success can also bring a whole new set of challenges. So we're always kept on our toes, that's for sure.
That's amazing. I thank you for doing what you're doing and making the world a better place. And speaking of the world and making it a better place and the planet, what's on your mind, Kaitlin? What is just burning you up? What's driving you as we're heading towards the end of the year? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I started this company, it was really about finding ways that we could make planet friendly and also just healthy, more nutritious products more widely accessible by everyday Americans. And I think, the thing that I look at today is like we had just recently the COP26, climate meeting. And it was really what people said was the last meeting where we can really make meaningful change to hit essentially the milestones in whether it's, greenhouse gas emission reductions before 2030, which is kind of pivotal moment where we're saying, we've caused some irreparable damage to essentially our climate, and it will, lead to increased rising temperatures, and it will lead to more natural disasters. And so this is really a call to action of we need to do something now so that, we are, when fast forward to 2030, we're not, in this kind of mad dash of, oh my gosh, it's too late. And so I was interested because I was following along with what was happening during this big, climate meeting between all of the really global world leaders. And I was just struck with the fact that, not enough, it didn't feel like enough was being done. And I think that's how a lot of people today feel is that, it's like we put a lot of the emphasis on our governments to make change and on corporations to make change. And as consumers, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. What can I really do as one person to, when corporations or when government is failing, what can I really do as one person to impact the climate crisis? And I think a lot of us have that, are having a closer sense of anxiety around conversations about climate. We do feel so helpless. So it is interesting just because I think, as I look towards next year, it's how do we empower, instead of having this conversation that's really rooted in fear and that makes us feel all helpless, how do we really empower people to, step up to the plate and do things in their local community that can have a larger impact, to do things in their own life that really can have a larger impact, or at least help us feel better about our role in the climate crisis. And then, of course, how can Pulp Pantry as a business hopefully inspire other businesses in our cohort to make changes that will affect hundreds of thousands of or millions of consumers, right? Because I think as businesses, we are serving consumer audience that is caring more and more about these climate issues. So it's just it's a very complex because, climate doesn't just touch all things environment. It also touches like so many there's huge social dimension to it. There's a huge, there's a huge piece of it that's honestly at the individual. So it's not just like society, but it's the individual and kind of how all of us are thinking about like our future and maybe the anxieties we have around that. So I don't know. It's just it's something where I'm like, what is our role as a business? What is my role as a consumer? What is, how can I, hopefully impact change up the food chain, so to speak? And that's something that I always love taking this time of year. I think it's really a time of reflection. Things slow down a little bit more where you're just able to say, okay, like take stock of what happened this year and let's think about what is going to be the game-changing thing that we can do next year to make even more of a difference. So, as the brand is growing, I'm constantly thinking about that, and that's always a great thing.
That is a real call to action for all of us at the individual and business level. You are right. We cannot depend on governments. We got to make the changes ourselves. And I think this is a good place to talk a little bit more about Pulp Pantry. So I'm going to read the official description. Pulp Pantry transforms upcycled ingredients, the overlooked nutritional byproducts of fruit and vegetable processing, into wholesome, better for people and better for the planet snack staples. And you're a very forward-thinking person, and your products from Pulp Pantry are sold all over the place, right? Where are some of the places that some of our listeners can go find your products?
Yeah, so we have a line of real vegetable chips that are made from upcycled ingredients. We work with the cold pressed juice industry. So one of our partners, Evolution Fresh, we've worked with Suja, and we essentially take the fiber left over from juicing fruits and vegetables to make these real veggie chips that have fresh vegetables as the first ingredient. That's really our stake in the ground, and that provide, a good source of fiber in every serving. And they're sold into currently just mainly the West Coast. We're definitely focused on the West Coast, but it's Target, it's Whole Foods. We're selling on Thrive Market, Imperfect Produce, and soon we might be launching on Amazon. For now, if you're across the rest of the country, you can use our store locator on our website, or we also do ship direct from our website. So we're reaching a lot of different corners, and I think just finding aligned partners that really value the sustainability portion, and obviously retailers that value woman-owned brands and bring more woman-owned brands back onto the shelf. And so we've been really lucky to work with some really premier specialty and natural retailers as well.
That's amazing. Can people order online?
Yeah, people can order online. Chips are a funny thing to ship. I will just say, like, we've been learning a lot about that, but no, our website, it's definitely like we try to offer it at an accessible price and not make people buy too much of one product, but we have a variety pack on our site for $20 and it'll ship anywhere in the country. And that's a good way to just get a tasting of all of the different flavors and of the product that we offer, which I know, people have been falling in love with. So it's awesome.
I love it. I mean, I am a self-described chip addict. And so I love chips, but I've mostly given up potato chips.
Yes,
so I'm excited to try fruit and vegetable chips. So pulppantry.com.
Yeah, pulppantry.com. And I will say, like, that was definitely the point when we looked at the veggie chip aisle, and why we launched the veggie chip first was honestly because we looked at the veggie chip aisle and we were like, people are saying these are veggie chips, but it's made from potato starch or dried potato flakes as the first ingredient. And there's a sprinkle of vegetable powder as your coloring, essentially. And I was just like, why are there we have kale chips now, which is great, but maybe not accessible to everyone. Maybe doesn't, stay delicious to everyone. So I was like, why don't we have something that's in between fresh vegetable chip, but it functions as a chip. It has a structure that's like a chip. You can trick your kids into eating vegetables in a chip. So that was really honestly the impetus behind starting the brand, was just realizing, like, even veggie chips are potato chips in disguise. Which, potatoes are a vegetable, but maybe not a vegetable that all of us want to eat and want to eat.
Yeah, and I dig it. That's something I've been learning as I host this podcast, is that there are a lot of brands we would all know as consumers, big budget brands, where the claims are sort of like they're provable, but not necessarily authentic or good for you. And so the ingredients are there, but there's a lot of other junk in there, or there's it's lip service. And I'm reminded of Rusty Jones, is the founder of Hello Water. And he said almost exactly the same thing you said: cleaning up the soda aisle, or cleaning up the water aisle, because the pop aisle. And you're doing it single-handedly. This is amazing. So let me ask you this: since Firebelly is a social media marketing agency, I have to ask you this question because we're dying to know: how does social play into your brand success today? What kind of role does it have?
I will just come out right and say it. We have zero strategy on social. And it's been a lot of just, it's a way of connecting with community and, sharing kind of what's top of mind. There are certain things that, like, I, as the overbearing founder, I'm like, I need to stop. I have a friend who actually manages our social channel. And again, this is something that, I think it's a big opportunity area for us, but for us, it was like, let's not use social as a sales push. Let's really use it as something where hopefully we can just share our musings with people about, like, tips for reducing food waste at home. Hey, what's in season right now that you can buy at your local farmers market, and how to encourage people to essentially, adopt some purchasing habits that we feel like can make a positive change every single day. And then, of course, I come in as the founder, and I've got some some sales goal that I'm like, hey, I want to share with people. We just launched we just for the holidays launched a plant-based cheese making kit. And really the thing behind that, I was like, I want to do something that will encourage people to gather in a way that encourages, I think, everyone to have a seat at the table, whether you're vegan. I mean, with family gatherings nowadays and modern dietary restrictions, I was like, this is a huge conversation piece for me personally. Like, I come home to Chicago and I say to my parents, I'm vegan, and they're like, you got to go back to California. You're gonna get me shipped back, So I think it's one of those things where it's like, and my sister had celiac at an early age, so I was really inspired by like, let's create something for the holidays that really encourages people to gather no matter what your dietary restriction is, and allows everyone to sit around the table and hopefully have those conversations with just loved ones this season. So we did a plant-based charcuterie kit and plant-based cheese making kit to get people engaged in the process of really making something from scratch. And it's been really fun to put that out. And I've did a big campaign on social, but it was kind of funny because everything, it seems like everything I touch as a founder, it's almost like you're too much in your head and it just flops. So my friend who manages social, she's like, girl, you gotta step away. So it's been I think navigating social has been really funny because sometimes as founders you forget that like you're just a person and you're just talking to people, and you really have to you gotta take that step back. So I definitely love, and I'm kind of rethinking just like, how can we provide the most value to our community? That's really what it's about. Like, how do we provide the most value to our community on their zero waste journey, on their plant-based eating journey, whatever it is. Like, we want to provide the resources for people to be able to associate, like, okay, I know that this brand is, sharing the same values that I have, and they're here to help me on that journey. So that's really, I think, like kind of how we're thinking about, at least in the new year, adjusting some of our content to be more focused on that.
It's interesting that education is such an important part, I think, of every brand's social journey. And I'm glad that you're doing that. It is not done enough. I mean, I think that people in the cannabis space do it a lot because that's the only way they can actually get by, especially with their paid campaigns. But let me just recap what you said: food waste, lasting solutions to pressing environmental issues, climate change, healthy food access, painting a picture for a more sustainable and healthy future for people and for CPG. It's interesting because I'm going to take that kind of serious tone and combine it with your earlier comments about fun, creativity, and talking points. And you all do a really great job with balancing those out. It's like, it's the heavily burdened intellectual kid combined with the party a couple times a month kid, all in one. So
yeah, exactly. That's a good way to describe it. I love it.
Great job with that. What do you want before we get to the last couple of questions? Because I have one slightly curveball question for you.
Love it.
So if you're looking for Kaitlin Mogentale, she's easily findable everywhere. And her brand is pulppantry.com. I highly encourage you to get the variety pack. It sounds like it's a great deal. Just like the Better Box from Christina Appleton, no question that it's worth much more than the money we're getting charged. And there's lots of talking points and you can have fun with it and trick your kids. So it sounds like it's a no-brainer, really. Pulppantry.com. This episode is sponsored by Firebelly Marketing, a leading social media marketing agency making brands more likable. Go to firebellymarketing.com for more information. So let's get into a couple of fun questions. What do you love eating your chips with?
Oh, I think that's kind of what, plant-based cheeses. Love eating them with plant-based cheeses. They're really honestly like a cross between a chip and a cracker. So, I mean, if I'm in a pinch, chips and hummus is my lunch. I probably eat a bag a day. I'm not gonna lie. It's gotten a little ridiculous at this point. I'm like, how do I even do this anymore? The jalapeno lime I've heard is really good with goat cheese. There are some vegan goat cheeses out there that I'm like obsessed with as well. Sparrow is one of them. Grounded Foods is another one of them. So I eat a lot of the jalapeno lime with goat cheese or vegan goat cheese. So yeah, I think, honestly, any dip, any cheese, like you're going to be in good shape.
It's amazing. My partner has been a vegan for, I think, almost a couple of years now. and she swears by Mykonos plant-based butter. I don't know if you've ever had it, but I've actually abandoned gluten bagels and real butter, or I should say animal butter, for the gluten-free bagels and the Mykonos plant-based butter. It is absolutely so delicious. And the trick is, let me tell you, for a simple-minded person like me, like slicing each bagel slice into half. So you think you're eating 4 bagels.
So good. Oh, yeah. See, food is meant to be played with. It's meant to be a joyous experience. I love that. But yeah, Miyoko Schinner is the founder. And I mean, just like the amount of, I would say, activism that she displays too for animal welfare is really, really cool to see. Like, she's all about it. She walks the walk, she talks the talk. You love to see that. So yeah, she's a great founder, and that's a great brand to support.
Now, what is your two last questions? We'll combine them into one. What is your beverage of choice, and what could we count on you listening to on your playlist?
Okay, so drink of choice, I will say I am one of those diehard like water fanatics. I have my filtered tap at home, and I drink probably 4 liters a day. And I swear, like, if I drink my 4 liters a day, I'm gonna be in a good mood. I'm gonna be great for the next day. So I really swear by that. I think that's definitely what I drink on a daily basis. And I would say with what's going to be on my playlist, I recently, my friend turned me on to this documentary about the 60s and Laurel Canyon and kind of all these musicians that had started a community in Laurel Canyon. It's on Netflix. I forget what it's called. But we went to the Rolling Stones concert recently. I really love that era. I don't know. I mean, 60s, 70s, like, there's just something about it. I guess I'm a little bit of an old soul in that way. But yeah, I still listen to all of those oldies, and I think there's a new band actually that kind of someone turned me on to, that's called Greta Van Fleet, and I feel like I'm like, oh my gosh, they're bringing back this kind of Led Zeppelin-y feeling, and they're a modern band. I think these guys are in their 20s, so I would check out Greta Van Fleet. They've got some good like new age rock and roll.
Love Greta Van Fleet, and
nice.
I'm trying to think of the name of the documentary you're talking about. I have watched it recently. Jacob Dylan is sort of the host of the whole thing, and the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I mean, the association. Never My Love is probably one of the greatest songs ever written. Buffalo Springfield, the Mamas and the Papas, the Byrds. I mean, the Byrds they're just Sweetheart of the Rodeo is probably one of the best records ever written. All these people lived in that same area, and the one that I find people don't know about is how influential Linda Ronstadt was. Right?
Yeah. I just found the name. It's Echo in the Canyon on Netflix, so check it out. Definitely cool to just see
Echo in the Canyon. That's right. Jacob Dylan, if you on the highly unlikelihood of you listening, thank you, my man, for bringing us this great inspiration. And I think there's great nostalgia and a sense of newness at the same time with the music, because I'm actually I'm not familiar with a lot of it, and the Flying Burrito Brothers. There's so many great bands, and the JD Souther is another one there. They collaborated with the Eagles. So, but listen, thank you so much. You've got a very sophisticated palate for food and music, and we thank you for being on the Firebelly Social Show. Don't forget, everyone, pulppantry.com. Check it out, and we will see you. Thank you again, Kaitlins, and see everyone else on the flip side.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.